Hello, thank you so much for accessing my free presentation. Telehealth insurance is taking insurance right for me. So I put this presentation together to hopefully give practitioners, whether you're online or in a brick and mortar office, more confidence to bill insurance in your practice. So I was really scared to take my practice all online, mainly because I didn't know if I could successfully bill insurances for telehealth. I've spent thousands of hours learning how to bill insurance in my private practice. And now I've learned how to bill for my all online practice as well. And it really was a steep learning curve, but I've successfully implemented insurance billing into my online practice. And now I'm all online, working and traveling the world. And I bill 30 to 40 client hours a week. They're all insurance clients and they're all online. So, insurance billing, what's the downside? Joining panels means you will not get paid unless you submit the claims. In some cases, it can take up to a month to get paid, so you have to be prepared for that. Next, filing claims and dealing with insurance, it can take time, just extra time out of your week. So just the other day, I was on hold for like 40 minutes with Aetna, waiting for a representative. But I was also loading the dishwasher, I was folding on my laundry, I was watching some TV. So these are just some of the perks of working from home. It's sort of painful to be on hold that long, but if you can do some other stuff while you're at it, it's not as bad. Um, Another downside of taking insurance is it can take a while to get credentialed with the insurance company. So in some cases, 60 to 90 days, even 120 days, depending. So that's why it's important to decide early if taking insurance is right for your practice. So another problem with deciding to take insurance is that some of the panels can be picky. So some of the plans, they close their panels due to oversaturation in certain areas, or they may need a provider with your specialty, or they may not need a provider with your specialty. So they might be full of, substance abuse counselors in your area. If that's what you do, you might be out of luck. Lastly, the rates are dictated with insurance companies. So generally, the rate paid in your area is the rate that you're going to be paid. But there is a way around this, and I discuss it more thoroughly in my full course for private practice insurance billing. One more important thing to note, if you're paneled with an insurance company, you are contractually obligated to take that person's insurance. But guess what? There's a way around this as well, and it's called an insurance opt-out form. I include one of these also in my full course. So, what is the upside of taking insurance? Here are some of the pros of taking insurance and why it was a good decision for me. My area is totally oversaturated with clinicians that take insurance. So if I search my Psychology Today zip code, all of the therapists take insurance. If I were private pay only, I just really would not be able to compete in that area. So I have to take insurance if I want to keep a steady flow of clients coming in. Currently, I get 2 to 3 new client calls per week, and they're all wanting to use insurance. So because, I want to be able to live out my dream, I had to figure out a way to take insurance and be an online therapist. So in my opinion, there are more pros than cons when taking insurance. For example, I have a large pool of clients to choose from, and I say choose because not every client that calls me is the right fit. So I thoroughly screen my clients and make sure that I'm the right fit for them and they're the right fit for me. Another perk is I do very little marketing. This is a great one for me. I hate marketing. I don't like networking groups. I generally don't like any in-person promoting of my practice. So a lot of my clients, they find me on their insurance provider websites, and the rest come from Psychology Today or relationships with other referring providers that I've developed over the years. And sometimes my clients recommend me to their friends or their coworkers or that sort of thing. So next, most of my clients would prefer to use their insurance. They pay for it, so they really want to use their insurance. So I think being a therapist, it's a good thing to offer to people. The next important thing about taking insurance is you do get free listings on the member websites. So, I do pay for Psychology Today, but this is a free way to get listed on some directories where clients can find you immediately. So another great thing about insurance is the panels give you direct referrals. So about 3 times a month, I get an email directly from an insurance company with a specific referral because my niche is specified in their referral system. So that's a really positive benefit as well. My clients are really filtered to me, and they're the people that I like to work with. Next, a few other perks of insurance. Payment schedules are predictable, so you know when you're going to get paid, and you generally know how much you're going to get paid. Rarely are there surprises around that. Also, the clients tend to stay longer in therapy because their co-pays are more affordable. And lastly, the clients tend to come weekly instead of once or twice a month like they would if they were private pays. So another big question is, which insurance companies do I choose? First, I would say utilize your resources. I would suggest speaking with therapists in your area to find out which insurance companies offer the best reimbursement for your license type. And I'll go into more specific detail about that on the next slide. Next, I would recommend calling the provider relations department before you apply to an insurance company to see if they cover telehealth. So it can take, like I said before, 3 to 6 months to get credentialed. So you want to make sure it's worth it before you apply. Next, I would recommend on Facebook joining the Online Therapist Facebook group. That's a fantastic group. And also my Telehealth Insurance Billing group, also a fantastic group with lots of resources. You can post in the groups, post your state, and ask who the highest payers are and which companies are consistently paying for telehealth in your state. You might get a lot of really good information that way. So, for example, in my state, UBH pays the most, over $100 for a 90837, and next is Medicaid, and then Anthem. And UBH recently increased their rates. Anthem used to be the highest payer in Virginia, but now it's UBH, and they have them beat by about $15 an hour. So just a little pro tip. Notice that I'm not saying the exact amount that I'm paid. It's actually a breach of contract to disclose your actual rate. So be careful if you're sharing on the online forums or with colleagues, not to share your actual rate with people. So once I figured out that insurance was for me, I needed to be strategic about which insurances paid the most and which ones covered telehealth consistently. So which insurance companies do I choose? I don't want to get paneled with a low payer that's not going to cover telehealth. It's not going to be worth your time if you want to be an online therapist. So let me dig into one strategy with you, and it's about how I work with local therapists to know which insurance companies to choose. So I reach out to local therapists who complement my niche and take insurance. So this is a double tip in a way. One, it's good for networking and marketing, and two, it will give you information about which insurance companies to choose. So step one, search your zip code on Psychology Today. Filter for therapists that offer online therapy and take insurance. So read their profiles and see if they talk about online therapy. The second step is filter down to therapists that complement your niche. So for example, I see clients that have trauma and substance abuse diagnoses, and I only see clients individually, and that's mostly just because I hate couples work and I don't really like working with families that much. So inevitably, my clients always ask me to see them and their spouses and their family members all together to work on problems. But since I prefer to not do that, I need a network of couples therapists and family therapists to refer these clients to. So the next step is ask to meet online with these therapists. Contact them however you want to. Ask to meet them through Zoom or something like that. Or you can go into their office in person if that's better for you, or if they prefer to do that. So now that I've built this good network with therapists that specialize in couples and family, I can work with them because they know that I specialize in substance abuse and trauma. So if they have that coming up in their couples and family work, they can refer to me. So once I meet with them during the meeting, I just want to be sure to ask who their highest insurance payer is. Again, not asking for an exact rate, and then ask them which ones consistently cover telehealth for them. So another big question is, what if I get into trouble and they want my money back? So I rarely ask the client to call and check their benefits. Mainly this is because clients don't know what to ask for, and a lot of times they're given the wrong information. So I have a whole process for this, but first I obtain the prospective client's insurance. Next, I call the provider phone number on the card, and just keep in mind this can be very tedious, but it's necessary to do it yourself. So almost always you'll have to enter your MPI, your tax ID number, and then next you'll have to have the client's policy number and their date of birth and their full name. Next, after that, you'll have to go through an automated recording system usually, and you'll hear their primary benefits. Any chance you get, opt out and go to a representative. That's what I do, because you're never going to get telehealth benefits online or over the phone. You have to go directly to a representative to get the right benefits, and sometimes even then it's not the right benefits. But anyway, eventually you'll get the option to speak with a representative. So once you're connected, they'll try to give you the primary benefits again, and I usually stop them and ask them questions from my insurance verification form. This is another form that you get if you take my full course. So one of the most important questions I ask on this form is, I am trying to find out if the client's telehealth benefits are available and if they cover mental health. So I just check that way, and I ask it in a variety of ways, because a lot of times you'll get from the representative, they'll say telehealth, or what's that, or I'm not sure what you're talking about, or they'll say mental health. So you have to be really assertive and firm here. You have to say telehealth, like video counseling, counseling over video, or some other variation of this. So most of the time they'll check the benefits and they'll let you know if they have it or not. If they say yes, oh yes, they do have it, I say great, and I say, do they need to use a specific platform, or is my secure HIPAA compliant platform sufficient? So most of the time they will provide you with this information, or they'll say, I don't see anything about that in here. So I'll leave it at that. Next, I'll ask them to check some specific CPT codes. Again, these are all my insurance verification form. There are a lot of CPT codes you want to check out, because there's some really intricate billing that you can do, and you can actually get paid more than just for a usual 90837. Next, I'm going to want to ask for modifiers and location codes for telehealth. So again, I cover that more thoroughly in the full course, but you're going to want to get all of this information checked, so when you do file the claims, it's exactly right and it doesn't get denied. This is one way you're not going to get your money taken back. So next, I'll ask for the copay information, and I'll also check to see if the copay for telehealth is different than a regular face-to-face copay. This is important because sometimes it's different. And lastly, I'll ask for a confirmation code for the call. You definitely want to document that confirmation code. So what do I do if they try to take my money back? You'll need to make sure that you have excellent policies in place. I include this disclaimer that's on the next slide in my telehealth policy, my practice policy, and in a separate insurance billing policy. And all of these are available as templates in my course. If you're interested and you want to incorporate those into your practice. So next, I have the client sign all these forms before we even begin treatment. So what if the insurance company doesn't pay after you've done all these steps and then you get a denied claim? For a telehealth reason, I will call the insurance company. I'll ask them to resubmit the claim for reconsideration, because if I have a confirmation number and they told me that telehealth is covered, I can resubmit it sometimes. First, I'll have them pull up the call reference number that I documented on the insurance verification form, and I point out that I was told telehealth was covered. Usually they'll say, oh, yes, I see that, and then they'll resubmit it for processing. So 95% of the time, that's actually worked for me. If I cannot get the claim paid, I inform the client that they are responsible for the payment of the session. I charge the amount of my self-pay rate, and this is actually required when you're working with insurance. You can't pick and choose how much you charge a client if a situation like this comes up. So if a client's unwilling to pay, I remind them of the consents that they signed when we started treatment. So most people are willing to pay what they owe. And if I have to, I'll work out a payment plan with a client if it's needed. So This is the policy that I use in my paperwork. I made sure to include this policy in all of my consent forms, and I have the wording seen here in my telehealth policy, my practice policy, and a separate insurance billing policy, as I said before. So I have the client sign all these forms before we begin treatment. So, how has my life transformed? So my life has completely changed now that I'm all online. I've left my brick and mortar office and I no longer pay rent. I'm saving $20,000 a year not paying rent or paying for my billers. So now I get to work from home in the city, and when a client cancels or no shows, I get to go out and enjoy the city, and I'm just right on the river and it's gorgeous. I get to walk around and just have fun when somebody cancels. I used to be in the suburbs and I was just stuck in my stuffy office waiting for my next client. So additionally, my boyfriend's been inspired by this and he's looking for a remote IT job. And we're planning to actually become digital nomads. So until recently, I didn't even know this term existed. But now that we know it, we're selling our home. We're planning to leave early next year. We love the beach, and we've identified about 20 beach towns where we'd like to live over the next few years. So we plan to live month to month in different Airbnbs, all the while working online. So we think our first stop is going to be a little island off the coast of Mexico, and then we're off to Honduras for a while. So I hope this presentation has helped you learn more about billing insurance for telehealth. My insurance billing course is a start to finish insurance course for your private practice. The course is fantastic, but I also offer private consultations where I work with you for 6 to 8 weeks to get your whole practice up and running if that's what you're interested in. And literally, this course has everything you need to know about billing insurance. And it's also unique because it has a special emphasis on telehealth. So I hope this presentation has addressed some of your fears about billing insurance for telehealth or in private practice in general. And I'd love to connect with you. If you have any questions, join my telehealth insurance billing group or email me at info@kimtolson.com. Thanks for listening.